Hi, this is Dale, the mower expert here at Power Equipment Direct. Today I'd like to talk to you about maintaining your mower and keeping it running at its best. We're concentrating more on riding mowers, but a lot of this information will also pertain to push mowers. So when you get your new mower, you're going to find usually two different manuals. You're going to find a product manual for the equipment, and you're also going to find a owner's manual for the motor. Both of those are going to have maintenance schedules for the motor and for the equipment separately. So let's talk about the motor first. The owner's manual is going to tell you how much oil, they're going to tell you the weight and the rating of the oil that you need to use. They're also going to tell you their suggested intervals that it needs to be changed. You're going to have oil changes. Your mower might have an oil filter, it may not. You're going to have an air filter to be changed. Most riding mowers are going to have a fuel filter that's going to need to be changed. Spark plugs last longer than they used to, but they still are relatively inexpensive. They should be changed at least every other year. The parts you need, you can either buy separately, you can get them at a mower shop, you can order them online. You can also get a maintenance kit like this. This one happens to be for a Kawasaki. This has your oil, your air filter, your oil filter, your fuel filter, your spark plugs, everything you need to maintain your mower. Very convenient, and that way you don't forget anything. If you're going to be doing maintenance on your mower, and it's a heavier mower like a Z-turn or a tractor, you might want to consider a lift. They're relatively inexpensive. They just crank up by hand. They put the front tires on the mower, they lift it up, they give you access to the underneath of the mower and the deck. You'll be able to see the belts, you'll be able to see the blades. It's really a pretty inexpensive thing, but it makes your life a lot easier for maintaining. Not only can you use it on your mower, but you can also use it on other pieces of equipment around your garage. So when you check the oil on your mower, you're always going to want to pull the dipstick, you want to wipe it clean, you want to reinsert it and pull it back out and check your level. So this is your oil dipstick right here. Take it out. It shows you your oil level. There's your full mark. There's your add mark. You'll want to keep it as close as you can to the full mark, but usually anywhere in here you should be fine. Wipe it off, stick it back in, pull it back out, check the level. This is also where you would add the oil. When you do add oil and you go to recheck it to make sure it's full, you're going to want to let that oil settle for a couple of minutes. Oil can get stuck up in the dipstick tube and it'll give you a false reading when you put the dipstick in. So always give it a couple minutes to settle. So this black hose right here, this hose right here is your oil drain. This is connected to the block. It has a cap here on the end, which is what you use to drain it. You put a pan underneath, open the cap, let the oil drain out. Once the oil's all been drained out, put the cap back on, and you want to fill the oil back in using the tube. So what you want to do is you want to check your owner's manual. It will tell you the amount of oil to put in the motor. It also tell you the rating of the oil and also tell you the weight of the oil that they recommend. That is going to be based on the temperature that you're cutting. All that should be explained in your owner's manual. The spark plugs need to be either cleaned or changed. If you check them and they don't look like they're too bad, they don't have a lot of buildup on them, you could just clean them with a wire brush and reinstall them and use them longer. You're always going to want to check the end gap on the plug before you reinstall it. It probably hasn't changed, but it's always good to check. A lot of that information you'll find in the engine manual. You'll notice that this has a really nice light gray to light tan color that shows that it's firing properly. You can also see there's no buildup of any carbon. It doesn't look burnt, so it is actually doing a very good job. I would have to say this one probably doesn't need to be replaced. If you'll notice that a little electrode right here, it's nice and square. If it was rounded off or if any of this part of the electrode here was burnt up, I would say replace the plug. So this is a spark plug gapping tool. It's probably one of the easiest tools to use for gapping plugs. What you would do is simply put the plug on and slide it up until you get to where it's supposed to be. This one's supposed to be 25 thousandths of an inch. There's 20 thousandths, there's 30 thousandths, 25 is right in between, so it's perfect. So this motor, being a twin cylinder, has two cylinders, one here and one here, with two spark plugs, one here and one here. This is your spark plug boot. This transmits the spark from the coil to the spark plug. If you unplug the boot, there's your spark plug. You would need a socket wrench to take the spark plug out, to change it or clean it. Once you put it back in, hand tighten it. Be very careful if this is porcelain that you don't break that. So you don't want to put too much tension on it. You want to get it up really snug. Once that's snug, you want to push the cap back on and you want to push it and make sure that you hear it click. That means it's on completely. This is your spark plug for the right cylinder. Pull the plug boot off, there's your plug. Same as on the other side. Again, be careful when you put this in. It's easy to break this porcelain. You'll have to replace the whole spark plug. Last time, when you put the cap back on, make sure that you hear it click when you put it on. For this Kawasaki, you have your fuel filter is back here. This should be changed every couple of years, or if you notice it gets really dirty on the inside, you should be able to see it, but it should last you a good 2 years. Here is your air filter underneath this cover. If you lift this up, there's your air filter. Release this clamp, take it off the hose and replace it. So the air filter doesn't have to be changed every time you tune up the mower, but what you'll want to do is you'll want to take it out and you'll want to tap it on a hard surface to get as much of that loose dirt out of it as possible. If it doesn't look too bad, you can put it back in, probably use it for another season. Let's talk about maintaining your Z-turn. First thing, let's talk about areas you need to grease. So we have here in both caster wheels, we have a grease zerk here, and we have a grease zerk on this side. This lubricates these two axles right here. We also have on the mower deck, we have our spindles that turn our blades. Those also are greasable zerks. We have one on this side, we have another one on this side over here, and we have a third one for the middle spindle. And the way you would access that is, you have this removable panel, and there's a grease zerk right there. Removing this panel will also allow you to clear any grass that's accumulated under the deck and also check your belts for wear. Now that we're talking about mower maintenance, I should also mention you'll want to clean underneath the deck. You're going to want to get as much of that dead grass that's packed up under there out of there. Not only is it going to give you better cut grass distribution, it'll also prevent your deck from rusting out prematurely. So this deck has a washout feature. It's right here up on top. There's a connection that goes on here that goes on the end of your garden hose. You would put it on here, turn your hose on full. There's a sprayer underneath that would spray water underneath and loosen up any loose grass. If you have a lot of grass that's caked underneath, you would have to raise the deck up to its highest setting and get underneath and scrape it with a scraper. Usually a wide paint scraper works the best. The deck can also be removed if you want to do it that way. Or you can buy a lift where you can drive the front wheels up on the lift it up, and you'll be able to get the easy access to the deck. While you're under the deck, also double check your blades. Make sure your blades are sharp. If they're not, take them out and have them sharpened or sharpen them yourself. Or if you have a second set of blades, now's the time to switch them out. These are your cutting blades. This is the cutting edge. This is called the wing. The more wing you have here, the more lift you have in the deck, the better it's going to stand the grass up, the better cut you're going to get. So you always want to make sure you get a high lift blade with a Z-turn. That's going to give you your best cut. Whenever this blade is sharpened, you don't want to sharpen it to a point edge. You always want to keep a blunt edge like this because it will dull a lot less quickly as if you had a sharp edge on it. While you're there, you're going to want to check all your belt conditions. If you see any belts that are frayed or worn, you're going to want to have them replaced. This is your deck belt right here. It goes around your center pulley. You have an idler pulley right here that keeps tension on the belt. It also goes around your right spindle and also your left spindle. Attached to those spindles are your 3 mower blades. And the belt winds around all the spindles. That's what turns your blades. You're always going to want to check the tire pressure on your mower. You can do that with a tire pressure gauge. Consult your owner's manual, or most of the time the recommended tire pressures are stamped right on the side of the tire. Well, of course, you can't adjust it. It's going to give you a range, like between, say, 20 and 30 PSI, and just adjust that for the kind of comfort and ride you want to have on your mower. So your tires, this is your fill valve for the tire. You have a cap that protects the valve. When you fill it, you want to make sure all tires are marked with the max inflation. This one happens to be 24 PSI. So let's talk about storing your equipment. You're done for the season, you're going to put it away. The last tank of gas, you're always going to want to make sure you have some kind of fuel stabilizer in it. When you're done mowing for the final time, you're going to want to run it dry, get as much gas of that burned out of there as possible. But you're always going to have a little bit of gas left in the flow bowl of the carburetor. You want that gas to be treated, because otherwise that gas could do a lot of damage over the winter. You're going to want to grease any of the grease fittings that are on the mower. Because your mower has a battery, you're going to want to take the battery out of the unit. You don't want it sitting in the unit over the winter. You don't want to store it in a cold. You want to keep it in a warm, dry place if possible. You never want to put the battery down onto concrete. You always want to put it down and have a piece of wood or something in between the battery and the concrete, or put it on a shelf or something. But the concrete will drain the battery down over the winter if it's sitting right on the concrete. Recharge it. If you need to put a trickle charger on it to keep it trickle charged over the winter, that's a very good idea also. It'll be fully charged when you put it back in the mower in the spring. This rev valve right here is your fuel shutoff. When you're done using the mower for the year, you've drained all the fuel out of it. You'll want to take it and you'll want to turn it so it's perpendicular with the hose. That means it's off. You're going to use the mower again in the spring. You'll want to turn it on so it's parallel with the hose. And these are shipped from the factory. They're shipped closed. So you'll make sure you hit the very first time you use this, you're going to have to make sure that you open that valve, otherwise the mower will not start. Thanks for joining us. As always, if you have any questions, give us a call or reach out to us through any of our available channels.